A major news story broke yesterday afternoon, and when this starts to leak out, it's going to change everything, and it confirms what this channel has been reporting for the last 6 months to a year. Florida is in virtually the exact same position the colonies were in 1775. We are on the brink of a complete and total separation from Washington, D.C. Many have come to my channel and said, Florida Maki, we're on board with this idea of states' rights. I mean, we didn't really want President Joe Biden to take office, but now that he has, we understand that constitutional governance really does occur at the state level. But you've said that Florida is special, that it's unique, that it's really no longer a state. It's acting as its own republic. Florida Maki, I don't think I agree with that. Well, we have done a great many things to separate ourselves from Washington, D.C. One of the primary things is we're kicking out OSHA. We're literally kicking federal agents and federal agencies out of our territory. And we are governing in the exact opposite direction of Washington, D.C. Now, how is it that we're able to do this? It's real simple. It's not philosophical. It's financial. And you will not hear this in the mainstream media. Because if they started reporting it, people would start seeing it. Historians would start putting two and two together and saying, wait a minute. How is Florida being able to do this? How are they able to divorce themselves this way from the direction of the entire country? Well, here's the announcement. The Standard & Poor's, let me zoom this in for you guys, announces Florida's AAA credit rating ranks higher than Washington, D.C.'s. This week, Standard & Poor's S&P confirmed Florida's AAA stable rating on Florida's general obligation bonds, the highest rating available, and established that Florida has earned a rating higher than that of Washington, D.C. This AAA rating reaffirms that Florida is leading in responsible governance, and the Florida economy is continuing to grow and thrive. Florida's AAA rating places the state above the nation's rating of AA+. Florida is also outranking other high-population states, with California only earning AA- and New York only earning AA+. New York is supposed to be the financial capital. They are no longer. Because as we know, to be the financial leader, you have to have the best credit rating. S&P is one of the nation's leading bond rating companies and provides high-quality independent opinions on creditworthiness. Quote from the report, Florida's economy is strong because we have kept the state open, maintained a positive economic climate, taxed lightly, and spent wisely, said Governor Ron DeSantis. Florida is yet again outpacing the nation, and the state is well positioned to weather future economic challenges. That's the part you need to pay attention to. If there were ever any issue with the dollar, it's going to be bad for everybody, but we got money in the bank and we have empty credit cards. The equivalent of what Florida has just done financially to someone looking to their own finances. Imagine you were making $100,000 a year. Imagine that your retirement plan was fully funded. All of your credit cards were empty. Your house was paid off. Your cars were paid off. And you had $10,000 in the bank. That's the equivalent of what the report said. We have a $10 billion surplus. We have a $100 billion budget, and we have virtually no debt. And we're growing. Now, let's put this in contrast. Washington, D.C., 14 November. This is this morning from CNN. Howard students are living in tents to avoid the mold, roach, and mice infestation in their dorms. Where's Howard? Washington, D.C. Jasmine Juf said she's been sick with congestion, coughing, and headaches for several weeks after discovering the mold growing in her Howard University dorm caused an allergic reaction. Active negligence, non-working Wi-Fi. See, this is Washington, D.C. in a nutshell. They can't pay the bills because they don't have to. Criminals don't obey laws. Criminals have no sense of morality or decency or right and wrong. They just do what makes them rich. And this is exactly the position the colonies were in right before everything let loose in 1776. They had sent grievances. They had tried to petition the crown. They had done everything that they knew to do peacefully. And then they declared themselves independent. And then, of course, the crown declared them in rebellion. And as we know, things turned out very differently than the crown thought they were going to. See, one of the big things, and this goes back to the whole financial part of this, the 13 colonies were not only trading independently with other nations, they were trading independently with themselves. By 1750, the population had grown to 2 million, and growing disagreements with England, along with shared democratic ideals and trade, led to the Colonial Assembly of 1774. So it was about money. And to put things in a wider perspective regarding Florida at this time, part of Florida at this time actually wanted to remain loyal to the crown, but other parts didn't. You see, it was this free place that had been largely conquered by Spain. It was referred to as Spanish Florida. And this is a map from 1782, long after the war was over, about a proposed division. That this would be the colonies, or the quote-unquote the United States, and this would all be handed to the Spanish. Even then they acknowledged that for hundreds of years prior to British colonists arriving here, this was Spanish territory. Here's a better picture of this East and West Florida. You know, they had their differences, but it was a free place. And this is a graphic I pulled up to kind of reinforce this idea. The Mecklenburg resolves May 31, 1775, proclaimed that all laws derived from the authority of the king or parliament are annulled and vacated. We've seen language like this coming out of the Florida legislature. We are vacating Washington, D.C.'s mandates. They're saying we mandate this, we mandate that, we mandate the other, and the Florida legislature is just saying no. You say that should be a certain thing, and we say it's another, and since we're in charge of our state, so far it's still technically a state, but history will record that the republic began in 2021, perhaps 2020. And that financial edge, that financial advantage we have, is going to be the financial edge and advantage our allies have. And that's going to, by itself, cause this map to come into fruition and become reality. We're just going to shut out the Northeast. We're going to shut out the West. And we're going to let them collapse. And for those of you worried, no, Washington, D.C. does not have some magical robot army. Even the head of the National Guard in Oklahoma has now stood up and said, no, I'm not going to enforce this mandate on the military from the Pentagon. We already have a general in Oklahoma defying D.C., saying, no, not going to do it. I'm not going to enforce it. I understand your mandate, but I'm the one in charge of enforcing it, and I'm not going to. If that's already happening in Oklahoma, do you really think that Washington, D.C. could order troops into Florida? Hell no. They just wouldn't comply. Pardon me. And one final point here. The last naval battle of the American Revolutionary War actually occurred off the coast of Cape Canaveral, and we sent the British running. You can go back and pause this and read it, or you can look it up for yourself. But basically, we turned and smacked them in the mouth, so to speak, and they tucked tail and run. Now coming very soon, there's a 2-disc CD set that you can get, or DVD set, pardon me, that talks about the actual first Thanksgiving. It was in St. Augustine. And it occurred long before, in fact, probably before, most of those who arrived in 1620 were even born. It was held by Menendez because they claimed Florida in the name of God, not in the name of the ship's captain or not in the name of the king, not in the name of their benefactors. They claimed Florida in the name of God. So I will leave it there. We're going to be showing clips of this and talking about this as we get closer and closer to Thanksgiving. And I just wanted to remind people, Floridians are still waiting for that La Palma volcano tsunami to come destroy us. You know, that magical tsunami that only hits Florida, but it doesn't hit anywhere else on the East Coast. It doesn't hit Washington, D.C. It doesn't hit New York. It's one of those magical tsunamis that stops right at the Florida line. Yeah, still waiting. God bless. Have a happy Sunday. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.